If I could describe my childhood in 3 words, it would be lonely, unloved, and scared. Constantly scared.
Torturous, painful, and loveless.
They used to lock us in the bedroom sometimes. We had to piss in a bucket. My dad used to beat us, so she used to take my mind off things and drink.
We'd all sleep curled by the front door, ready that if we heard him coming down the stairs, we'd be able to run out, move furniture against the bedroom doors. I still remember, and I'll never forget it, the knock on the door, and it would wake me up instantly, and the feeling of fear and dread, and that will stay with me forever.
Started drinking when I was 11, and then when I was 19, 20, I started on heroin. I just in a vicious circle all the time up until I was like 28.
So childhood trauma will have an impact on your life. There will be a physical impact on your body, there will be a physical impact on your brain. If that attachment isn't there from a very young age, then you will come to realise that you can't rely on people to meet your needs. ACEs increase the risk, but they are not a predictor. They are not saying that you will definitely go on to use substance misuse. If you are a child who has experienced adverse childhood experiences, then you are at risk of getting involved in health-harming behaviours, including taking substances and alcohol.
It's not just a substance misuse issue, it's far greater than that. I always remember coming across a statement from Frederick Douglass, his name was, and he said, it's easier to build stronger children than repair broken men. It could potentially benefit future parents to prevent those traumatic or traumas or stressors, shall we say, from reoccurring or happening or history repeating itself. So just trying to break the cycle then, basically.
I feel my addiction to alcohol was as a result of the trauma of my childhood. I do. I didn't want to think, I didn't want to live in my own head. As soon as I had that first taste, I loved it. It made me feel invincible, like, I didn't care what people thought of me. It took me away from the real world, and all I wanted was to escape.
At the age of 23, my therapist actually explained to me that I was sexually abused. And I was like, no, that's not me, I wasn't that child on the Childline poster. I thought it was normal. When I spoke to my mama about it, she actually confirmed to me that it was normal by stating, well, when she was younger, she got taken down a lane and something happened to her and she didn't tell anyone. So it was shoved under the rug again, with drugs, going out then, partying, just to not feel these foreign emotions. Taking heroin was like an off switch to my thoughts. It was like the drug that I was looking for.
At the age of 24, I went to prison. Still getting the flashbacks about the abuse. to be surrounded by predators, and you know that they're all monsters. It's a lot easier just to stay in your cell and take drugs. Started using heroin and kept using it. My dad was diagnosed with leukemia. Obviously he was struggling, Mum was struggling with the diagnosis, so a family friend would come in to give Mum a break. At the time I didn't think there was anything unusual about it, because there was always at least 2 of us, sometimes 3 of us. Convinced us through the alcohol to, we'd get in trouble if we said type thing. I was young, really young, so easily impressionable. It certainly screwed my life up, but I guess, subconsciously I was looking for something to either replace what I was missing with not having my dad around, or to block out what had happened.
It is so important that if you're working with people, to understand the reasons why they turn up on that door that day.
We work with kind of people who have not had the best start in life, who are troubled, lost, have got themselves into trouble with substances from typically a very early age, become engaged in criminal behaviour of some description, be it acquisitive crimes, so people who do things in order to feed a drug habit.
Put your hands where I can see them. What's here for again?
We don't just look at sort of drug use in isolation, we look at everything else that contributes to the pot, as it were, that's brought them to a point where drug use has become so big in their life that they don't have a life outside of that.
What do you feel makes a good drug and alcohol worker?
Basically, someone who can work with anyone and everyone, regardless of their circumstances, situations, demographic, etc.
It depends very much on the person you're working with as to how you portray yourself with them, how you connect with them on that level.
You need to have that relationship with your drugs worker in order to let your guard down and, be 100% honest with them.
If you haven't got trust in someone, then maybe you're probably better off on your own.
I went into drug and alcohol services at the age 23, right up until 41. There have been a few people within the services that had only learnt about addiction, let's say, but were able to actually show empathy towards me. It's most certainly being listened, talking to you like you're a human being that's just having a rough time.
It's definitely more useful to have a counsellor who's experienced it firsthand than to one who hasn't. I mean, how can you counsel someone without being through it yourself? That's the way I look at it.
I think empathy is critical to us being able to work with people effectively. If you nod and smile in the right places, well done, but if you don't mean it, pointless.
So when I was in treatment myself, there were 3 counsellors who were in recovery, and there was one who was not. And I wasn't very respectful of her because I felt she learnt it. But what I feel now is that if you're really genuinely interested and want to work with people in terms of helping them change their life, you don't have to have been through exactly that experience. Just remember, we're encouraging you not to be judgmental, but these clients will be very judgmental of you. Keep going, ask loads of questions. Try not to be intimidated and scared by the clients. They're only people. They're only people just like you. It's not always safe to explore childhood experiences when somebody is either still using or in really very early recovery, because they don't have the tools to be able to cope with whatever that might bring up for them.
As soon as I stopped counselling, all this new information that was coming into my head, I couldn't cope with it. It was like, so, you know, I was raped, I was sexually abused, and it was wrong. Straight away I went on to a substance. Speed. You know, I was taking that a lot then.
What you can't do is make any assumptions when you're getting to know someone about what may or may not have happened in their past. And I think kind of like it's a Pandora's box, and if you open it and you aren't able to support that person, then it's very dangerous. You have to be, when you identify trauma, you need to kind of like discuss it with somebody who is in a position to be able to offer the right support. Otherwise it can cause more harm than good. If you say you're going to do something, do it. It is their experience of being let down, you know, of people not delivering, of people saying one thing and doing another. And if that's someone's experience, then before you walk in the door, and no matter how good you think you are or how much experience you've got, that is their expectation of you. And that's why the behaviours and the coping mechanisms are so kind of like intrinsic, you know, that self-reliance is the only way.
We can say, look, we can work with you. We don't have to provide solutions. Some people don't want solutions, some people just want to be heard.
Under promise, over deliver, I think, and quite often when people coming in, it's working with their expectations as well. Never going in there and saying you're going to give them the silver bullet and everything's going to change.
The future services looks absolutely manically busy. It can be incredibly satisfying, and to see people make massive changes to their life can be fantastic, but there are also a lot of people that don't. So you have to learn to look after yourself well in this.
We're like sponges, so we're taking on all this trauma from people. Where does that go? What will happen is you get staff burnout and you get vicarious trauma. So we need to keep staff safe in services, and the way they need to do that is by acknowledging some of the stuff that the staff are experiencing.
It is all because of my childhood, yeah. And now I'm stuttering and stuff when I'm talking because my anxiety's really bad and stuff. And people take the way I talk the wrong way.
I had visions, I had goals. I'm not blaming anybody for what I've done, but there's a lot that could have been done. I could have had people there that weren't there. I feel what I went through shaped me. It left me with zero confidence. I couldn't trust people. I was very angry.
What we would like is kind of that inquiry and being curious about people in order to understand what led them there. So in terms of a trauma-informed approach, we would kind of try to change the behaviour and change the question. So instead of saying, what's wrong with you, we would like to say, what happened to you? So we get to know people's stories.
I wouldn't ask a question like, why do you take drugs? I can't see that that's helpful. That's quite probably the kind of thing they were asked by parents, by loved ones, possibly by teachers. Think back to my own experience, I can hear those voices of people saying to me, why do you keep doing this? When it keeps getting this bad, why do you keep doing it? Why can't you change? It's not a choice. When you're in it, it's not a choice. So I would ask questions about, when did you start? What was going on around the time you started? What do they do for you? How do they help you? How do they make you feel? How do they change things for you? What are the good things about taking these? What are the bad things about taking them? What are the consequences? Why would you change? What would you want if your life were different? How would you want your life to be if you weren't taking drugs?
I think the barriers that people will generally encounter are access. You know, people want to access his services straight away, and quite often that's not how they're set up or are able to do it.
Yeah, I was trying to get help from drug and alcohol services for 3 years. I kept on and on and on and on, but nothing was done. I was hurt more than anything because I really wanted the help. They said I should have been prioritised because of my mental health and that.
I think in North Wales it's geographical as well. You have to get to somewhere.
I thought rehab was something celebrities went to, or, you know, I didn't realise it was accessible.
Not everybody knows that they could speak to their GP and get referred.
If you're in addiction with a substance, even though you might be suffering with your mental health, they have got no time for the mental health because they put everything down to your addiction, which I know is a big part, but I find it can be a vicious circle. You drink because you're in a low mood, and your low mood is because you drink. The way they said it to me is that you can't be under 2 services at one time.
So say you had to make a referral to mental health services, for example, you could make that referral, you could do the legwork, you could actually take the person to the appointment as well. So it's that greater collaboration with interfacing sectors, I think, is massively lacking at the moment. That needs to be improved.
Yeah. Good. It takes a lot of courage for someone to actually walk in and speak to a stranger about personal life events and experiences, which could open up a whole can of worms.
I think there's also a huge fear of judgment and labelling.
We know that definitions and acronyms and names create stigma, you know, so kind of like I'm always wary to sort of not put labels on people. I think there's always kind of like that risk of building treatment systems around conditions rather than building treatment systems around supporting people.
The only negative experience I did have was from a midwife who was judgmental, and she said to me, "Oh, you're the drug taker then, are you? We better watch out for you." And I was like, did she really say that? Okay. And I let it go. I remember walking out of the hospital with my daughter, and the look she gave me was of disgust. It's like, you shouldn't be having kids, sort of thing. Yeah.
I find there is a lot of stigma around addiction, to be honest. I really do. It's understanding that addiction is an illness, you know, and that people don't choose to become addicts, you know. It's something that happens. Addicts are still people. They still have feelings. We're still human.
And some people have been in drug services since they were a child with their parents. So coming back into those services are triggering themselves. So do we meet somewhere else? How can we work with you in the best way that meets your needs and actually allows us to do our job? Because we've all got an outcome we want, but how do we get there? From the minute you walk through that door to somebody who sat on the reception desk, that's where compassion starts. So that person who greets you when you walk through has to be as trauma-informed as anybody else in that organisation.
I couldn't fault Sam Greenwood. I could never thank her enough. She saved my life. From the get-go, she was just on it. She was just a star. She got me, you know, I didn't have to pretend to be anybody. She cared. It felt good, you know.
I was listened to. They conveyed love and care into me as an equal human being. It was the difference that had always been missing.
I've had Michelle for 3 years now, and I can fully trust her now. Do you get me? It took me 6 months to open up to her. I don't trust no one. She just talked to me like she didn't look down at me, if you know what I mean. Like, I started to earn trust then, do you know what I mean?
It was only when I went to Barod, I only went there to get a food bank voucher. Wow, changed my life. Building trust with my drug worker Mark, the guy who funded me for rehab, the guy who actually seen a little bit of something which nobody else had maybe seen over the years. It took a long time. He had faith in me. Mark will always say, it's you that's done this, you've turned your life around, you've done this, you've done that. He proved himself, and I proved myself. Wicked man.
I spoke to Ray to when I said, this is what the problem is, and can you help me get it sorted? Well, he was like a rock, you know what I mean? He pointed me in all the right directions, came with me to my first few interviews with the police, got me access to different services. Ray seems really easy to get on with. And he never pushes either. Sometimes, you know, the last thing you want, you're coming into a drop-in centre is them start pushing shit on you when, you know when you're ready for it.
I tried killing myself when I was there a couple of months ago. And the girl in here saved my life. Every day she texts me and makes sure I'm alright, you know, twice a day sometimes, you know, just to see how I'm doing. And she asks me to go for walks around and all, you know, so yeah, they're good people, you know. People care.
There is light at the end of the tunnel. Don't give up. Life does get better. And you deserve to be loved.
Knowing what I know now, I would say to my younger self, you are worth it all. You are worth the good life. You are worth all the love that you never had and that you so desperately wanted to find in your life. Never give up on yourself. You know, he'll take everything you've got, but the rewards that you get back are second to none. There's nothing like it.
What's life like today?
Life's good. Life's peaceful. It's calm. Peace and quiet. I'm sleeping at night. I'm sober.
Life today is breathtaking. It's astounding. It's phenomenal. It's I can live in every moment and not need to put a substance in my body and not need to change the way I feel. I can love people for who they are and I can love myself today. I'm about to qualify as a counsellor, something that I'd never ever dreamed possible.
Life is amazing today. I'm able to move on and I'm able to help others. Being a drug addict or an alcoholic, you know, your life isn't ended there. You're meant for greater things.
It's a good vibe when you can go out and you meet so many different people that you've seen throughout the years, and you've seen, yeah, you did make a difference. Or they tell you as well, you actually saved my life. And it's just kind of, and that's, you know, I know when to take much praise, like, but when you do your work, and it's like, no, you know, you did the work. You did the work. We were just there alongside you, that's all.
My story's out there. I mean, I read social media. You see people struggling. Drop them a little message, send them a big hug. I tell them that I know exactly how they feel, and not to look at themselves as victims, look at themselves as survivors.
It might have taken me many years, but I'm feeling in my peak. I'm confident, I trust people, I'm building relationships which I've never done. I have been clean 370 days.
Well done.
Thank you.